with
yes.
our goals.
I hear you. Yes. Don't refine.
You just cut me.
Yes, you are done. Yes.
Yeah, right.
The taxes, the increases, those that are the reliefs, and then the 5.5 billion you guys say they have come to Parliament and is going to cronies towards economic recovery and towards 1 trillion economy.
Well, Samson, thank you so much. Sometimes I'm really surprised that my colleague, especially the MP for Ishaiso and the Deputy Minister for that matter, will continue to rehash and state issues that are not true.
Oh, how?
That can never be proven.
No. Kofi.
That he has no evidence.
For example,
he says that the NDC administration brought a Kaya tax.
They always say it's a tax.
They always say it's a tax. But there's no truth in it.
How is it?
There's no truth. There was no such tax handle.
Was there a levy or a toll?
I'm told maybe some municipal.
Yes, it
assemblies.
was. It was.
They say,
so it's a tax, is it not?
No. I'm saying some.
Okay.
Not even all.
Okay.
Some municipal. Please.
But there was no carry tax.
I'm saying that if a particular municipal assembly, in terms of management of its local issues, the assembly decided to do so, you don't come and placing it on a government. Because the government, we have the executive arm, did not sponsor any such tax.
The local authority is part of the government. But let's come to 2024 budget.
But let's be clear on that.
Okay.
Let's be very clear on that.
All right.
And that they did not repeal any Kaya tax. You should show me evidence of government repealing any Kaya tax.
That's fair.
No.
Please, let's
There's no such evidence.
Thank you. Unless you are showing.
Yes,
go ahead.
2017.
Yeah, go ahead.
Our budget.
He talked about
our budget statement.
that tax exemptions are done or taxes are added based on the physical space. When it gets to you, you feel it's based on space. When it is about somebody else, you think that it is what? Incompetence. The very same Abosokai people he referred to are the same people today who are crying and claiming that they were better off.
I have not referred to Abosokai.
In 2016, of course, they basically lead importation of vehicles and vehicle parts. So when the minister himself went to Parliament, he specifically mentioned them, that the Abosokai people, there is good news for you. He specifically mentioned them. So I'm mentioning them because they are speaking today and exposing how bad this government has handled things. You knew all this, but you said you were moving from taxation to production. Today, you have moved from production to taxation, and more taxes, and more taxes, and more taxes. That is the situation we find ourselves in. And they have been so deceptive in the handling of what? Taxes. Yes, His Excellency talked about poultry, and you were particularly interested in the area of what? Poultry. They inherited a system where the previous administration had an arrangement that any importer of poultry will have to source a minimum of 40% from the local market. And in doing so, they have to also invest in that local market. Government itself was leading the way. The administration came in and decided to cancel this arrangement. And today, we are virtually importing 100%. The poultry industry is completely collapsed under them.
You're just misleading the public.
He talked about the tax exemption that you raised. The minority leader, or Honorable John Jinapo, did not say that that has been approved. He says the memo has come to Parliament, and he has given clear indication that our side, both on the Finance Committee and when it comes to the plenary, will vote against it. They made it very clear that the memo has come for these 47 companies totaling almost the 5 billion. And we've made it really clear that we will oppose it at the finance committee level and we will oppose it at plenary. If he sits here and says, oh, it's not true, meaning that they have plans to go and withdraw the memo, fine enough. Then it saves the country these tax waivers for these cronies that we have identified. So it is not like it's gone as he claimed that they sat there and allowed it to go. It means that they didn't do their job well. Samson, this is the same government is telling us that inflation has come down. They want us to celebrate global.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
Well, true. But your station did a very good job. And you picked some basic items and gave indication per the Ghana Statistical Services report about items that still have inflation higher than 50%. Samson, when you look at those items, these are items that are basically consumed in our households.
And the emphasis was also what the tax component does.
Exactly, that's to those things. That's to those things. And tilapia, tomatoes, cassava, corn dough, corn flour, rice, local rice, smoked fish, iodidated salt that we have promoted that people must take iodidated salt so it can reduce the goiter issues. Iodidated salt, fried fish. After eating, you have to paste. We are being encouraged to paste, at least brush our teeth twice. Toothpaste. These basic consumables are way above 50%. And so the global inflation that we are celebrating, that is coming down, is not having a positive impact on the ordinary Ghanaian.
But when it goes up,
We have talked about, you see, Sticker sits and says that you project a 1 trillion economy. And he says, because it's a projection, when people are talking about it and analyzing it, it's a projection. And so, if it's a projection, what we sought to do is to say that even if you have a 1 trillion economy, GDP, and your inflation remains high, that 1 trillion is not driven by real and proper growth that gives jobs. It is a GDP that you have realized as a result of a higher inflation, and not because you have actually grown.
This is false.
How can it be false?
Please, inflation.
No, but
You don't understand what I'm talking about.
you are projecting. You see. No. That's the problem he has.
But
he has a problem listening.
How can you say that projection that hasn't occurred is going to occur because of inflation?
Have you? We
are talking about.
Do we have inflation figures? Have you projected inflation also? Did you not project inflation 15%. Also? So
how can 15% come down? You're saying that the growth will be inflation.
Sticker is noted for throwing out figures that are not there. You see
which one?
When you want to talk about growth, it is true that there's a world figure, but you need to compare with your peers. It's like you are in a school in Achimota, and you are not doing well, and you want to compare yourself to a JHS person in my village.
But what the government has done has been to compare developments today with 2016, 2017, and telling how things are improving.
And I'm saying that even in that trend, I am particularly interested in comparing ourselves with our peers.
All right.
So if you pick the global, and even in this budget, I'm sure he didn't even go through it himself. They did Africa, they did Sub-Saharan Africa, and they did West Africa. If you look at the West African figures, the 3 countries that were listed there.
You need to conclude for me, and I need to help you to also get to
the list.
Program.
Ghana, 1.2%. Nigeria, 2.9%. Ivory Coast, that's La Côte d'Ivoire, 6.2%. So you don't go and pick a global figure and then deal with that.
There's something doesn't have economic sovereignty.
I came
Kofi,
with the report
what you're
of the Auditor General on the COVID funds. Every time the government talk, they want to give indication that it is as a result of COVID. The Auditor General, who they appointed, the Auditor General, they chased the previous one out and appointed somebody they think can do the work the way they will be satisfied.
What's the point with it?
The Auditor General's report suggests that COVID funds were completely messed up by this government. And so if you are complaining that you suffered because of COVID, the over 21 billion that was handed over to you, you messed it up.
All right.
This report, the Public Accounts Committee, we are yet to sit on it. And when we do, Ghanaians will see it's been submitted to Parliament. It's been submitted to Parliament.